time. We could definitely look to do it. We are about a week away. Makes perfect sense to do it today. So that's exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. So yeah, there's not loads to go through. We're probably going to go for about an hour. You always know what it's like. We say that and then it goes an hour and a half or whatever, but we'll see how it goes. There's actually not loads to break down. It's not the biggest of cards. I don't know if there's loads of twists and turns and things along those lines. I kind of feel like this definitely needs something. It definitely needs a few things, actually. And I think there are a few things that we could potentially get. Because this is a show that's maybe lacking going into it. And so it needs something to actually happen on the show to make it juicy, make it worth watching, make it worth our while. For example, there's only one title match. There's only one title match on this show. And before we actually get into the cards, I really like the fact there's only one title match. So there's one title match, and it really got me thinking, imagine if they did that going forwards. So your big shows like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, they do all the belts being defended, right? But when it comes to Hell in a Cell, when it comes to Elimination Chamber, when it comes to Money in the Bank, when it comes to TLC, when it comes to those kinds of shows, Backlash, you don't get them all defended. You just get a couple. You just get a couple of the belts defended. And actually, in a way, I think that would make the title matches feel more special. That is what they do in the UFC. In the UFC, they don't have, like, all the belts defended on each pay-per-view. They, like, for example, it is a UFC show this weekend. They have got two titles being defended. The women's strawweight and the men's lightweight. That is it. So it's not like they've got the heavyweight title, the featherweight title, the bantamweight title, the welterweight title. They don't do that. They just defend them a few times. And I think with wrestling, it could modernize and, continue to evolve and move with the times. And I actually think that having less title matches on these B pay-per-views would be better, because we see title matches all the time. I can't be the only one that looks at some of those title matches and think, well, champion's going to retain. Champion's going to retain, and it's pretty straightforward stuff. So, as I said, it kind of lessens the impact of it being a title match. Whereas with this, so far, we've only got one title match, which really is making it stand out when you actually look at the rest of the cards. So just something I was thinking about. Like, I kind of like it. I like the fact that we don't have loads of title matches this weekend and we've only got the one. I don't mind another one being added. But so far the card is 6 matches. I think it could move to 7, if not 8. We are potentially going to get Asuka and Becky. It'd be weird to see Becky not on the show, and Asuka's just come back, so be weird to not put Asuka on the show. So I am expecting Asuka and Becky to be added. But let's start with Asuka and Becky, shall we? We might as well start with Asuka and Becky. I'm going to start with Asuka and Becky, and the reason why is because, as I said, it's not been announced yet. I think that if there is going to be a match there, Asuka being away for so long, surely Asuka wins. Becky's just had a great run. She's just been a champion. Yes, she lost at WrestleMania, but I think if Asuka's coming back, you've got to start building Asuka up. And she's been away for so long. There's no point her being away for that long and then bringing her back and having her lose. So I think if we do get Asuka against Becky, then it makes sense to me that we have Asuka beating Becky. The problem with Becky right now is she doesn't actually feel like the big deal that she did a few years ago. I really think that when she came back, turning her heel and having her like really overly acting a lot of her promos. And also with her promos, like, she sometimes lacks a little bit of power in her promos. Just I don't think it's anything massive. I just think it's like little things that are just not quite right. I don't know if like the witty lines are there. I don't know if the heel turn has been a big success. I think the way, for me personally, that she kind of overacts and overreacts in her promos is too over the top. It's too over the top. You know, I've said before on watch-alongs, when she's sad, she's like, like, you know, really, like, it's kind of like overly acted, like you would see in a kind of old play, where like they have to get their emotions, make their emotions bigger so the person at the back can see they're not happy. Do you know what I mean? Like a play from Shakespearean times. I would imagine that they overreacted and overacted to really get their emotions across. I kind of feel like she does a lot of that. She goes very big. If she's happy, she's happy. If she's sad, then she's sad. And she does all this kind of stuff. And so I find it really distracting. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel realistic. And so I find that quite distracting with Becky. So she's not someone that's high on my list of people that I'm a big fan of at the moment. I don't hate her. I ain't got a problem with her. I just think there's a few bits like that just kind of stop her like really being on my radar. So, yeah, I would have Asuka get the win here. I love Asuka. I think she's brilliant. I think she's a lot of fun. She definitely is a dramatic as well, but she does it with a bit more of a comedic flair. Like, you know, she comes down, dances away and all this kind of stuff. And like, little flick of the nose and everything. So, as I said, when she does it more from a showmanship point of view. She doesn't do it as a way of trying to convey her emotions. And I just feel like that's something that annoys me a little bit with Becky. But each to their own. Obviously, Becky's got a lot of fans. I just don't think she feels as big as she did a few years ago for those reasons that we discussed. WWE Highlights says Becky doesn't feel quite the same. Becky's like the Wicked Witch of the West, said Zoom Station. This chat is really small as well, isn't it? I did notice that before we started. This is actually a setup that we haven't used for a while. This isn't like a Raw setup or anything. This is like an old predictions setup. So last time we used this setup, I must have set the chat up that small, and I have no idea why. But it does look very, very small. Might have to get the old magnifying glass out to read some of your comments and see what you're trying to say. Murray said, to be honest, Days, Becky just doesn't feel right as a heel. I agree to disagree on Becky, says Trini. The dramatics, for me, make it easier to see her as a heel, and it annoys me in the right way, not go away heat. To be honest, I mean, I feel like she's not doing it as a way of trying to annoy. I feel like she's doing it. How it comes across to me is, and I said this in a watch-along, I'm probably going to, if you watch the watch-alongs, I'm probably going to repeat myself a lot, but it feels to me like, you know, when you're a parent, like she's just become a mom, I would imagine she's like, oh, hello, like, you know, coochie-coo, like, do you know what I mean? Like, she has to kind of play up to the kid, like, oh, yeah. You happy? Yeah, like this, like, and she's like having to like really express, like, oh, you know, oh, you sad, oh, like it's kind of. I feel like she's doing that to me. I feel like when she comes out, she's like, you know, oh, I'm really happy, and then like, I just don't get it. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel natural. Like, I feel like I don't know if it's because she's a mom now, and as I said, she's like doing that maybe in a personal life or something, and now it's bled into her character. I have no idea. Maybe it's because WWE is a bit more of a PG product and she's thinking of kids in her mind, so she wants to make sure kids know, look, I'm sad now. I'm sad. Now I'm happy. No, I'm sad. Like, everything's just so, like, OTT. As you say, agree to disagree. Like, if it works for you, cool. It doesn't for me personally, and yeah, I do find it annoying. But anyway, you know. So Asuka Becky, we've got Asuka winning that one. Next up, we've got Bobby Lashley taking on Omos. So Bobby Lashley against Omos. I can't be the only one. I don't want to be so down on this card. I really want to get some, looking forward to this type thing. But I must admit, Asuka Becky, I think, is a match that, I like Asuka, and Becky is a big deal. So that would be a match I would be looking forward to. Lashley Omos is not, right? This is not a match I'm looking forward to. I think Omos, when you look at that, is it Satnam Singh in AEW? I think the way that he moves, I just kind of find that everything he does with confidence. Satnam Singh, he does with assurance. He doesn't think about it. Like, he came down the other day and he just started rolling up his sleeves. He's just rolling up his sleeves and he was ready to go. And, everything he did felt natural, felt realistic. It just felt like, right, here we go. And he was ready to get going. And if you've not seen Satnam Singh, he's about 7 foot tall. And he upset people with his debut, the way that he arrived. He kind of sabotaged Samoa Joe's moment. But I really do like him. I think the what I've seen of him and his movement and his confidence and the way that he carries himself just seems to be, just natural. Omos is not natural. Omos, kind of lumbers down. It's as if Omos moves and he's like, do you know what I mean? Lots of this kind of thing. It's as if he's constantly thinking, act big, act tough, stare down the camera. Now look out at the crowd, put your arms out. Turn around, make sure everyone sees how big I am. Go back to the fist thing. Make sure everyone sees I'm doing the fist thing. Now what I'm going to do is stand in the background, arms folded, whilst MVP talks. Look around at everyone. I can kind of, in his head, as he's doing stuff, I can kind of hear him saying this to himself, going through a checklist of, now I'm going to do this. Whereas Satnam Singh just comes down and he's like, it's all so natural and it flows and it works. I really think Omos just needs to be a bit more natural. Him trying to do the giant thing is him trying to do the giant thing. I think he probably needs to just relax, man. He needs to relax and just, get used to being this character. It's not sitting comfortably on him. It's not, he's just finding it difficult to, know where to pitch it. He doesn't quite know to be himself. I mean, when he is himself and he talks, he comes across as a bit of a goof. I remember him doing some promos with AJ Styles, and he was chatting away and everything. I remember saying at the time, oh, shut up, you are meant to be the silent monster. You are meant to be the heavy artillery. I don't want to hear you joking around with AJ Styles. Just stand in the background and shut up. But equally, I don't need him overthinking everything and just looking so unnatural and all this kind of stuff. And they've got so much work to do with him. If he doesn't know how to carry himself, he's gonna struggle. He's really, really gonna struggle. MVP can only do so much. Do you know what I mean? MVP can tell you this is the mighty Omos, this is the guy that's gonna destroy everyone. But if he comes down and he's all awkward and a bit clunky, it's not gonna land. The people just aren't gonna buy it. They're just not gonna buy it. So, I mean, what is a good visual is when he's towering over Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley's down here on him. It's like a father and son. And he's just towering over him. I mean, that as a visual looks amazing. So they had a match at WrestleMania. It wasn't great at all, was it? I mean, really one of the worst matches. So the WrestleMania encounter wasn't brilliant. I don't know if there's much here to suggest that this is going to be any different. So, I'm a little bit worried about this one. I've got Omos winning because I just don't see what benefit there is to Bobby Lashley winning. Omos winning would make sense because he lost at Mania. He's now got MVP. If he loses again, where are we going with him? What are we doing? What is the plan? So I really don't know what we're doing with Omos. I've got to think he's going to win this. I've got to think he's going to win it. So I've got Omos winning. Next match. I would jump in the chat on that one, but I don't think there's much to talk about. Next match, we got Happy Corbin against Madcap Moss. This one, I must say, the crowd reacted really well to Madcap Moss when he was revealed as that guy in the ring on Friday. So you might remember that Happy Corbin wanted to destroy the trophy with a sledgehammer. And someone came in with a sledgehammer and revealed themselves to be Madcap Moss. I don't know if it was WWE just pumping in fake noise, but it was great. I mean, like, the reaction was really, really good. And so it feels like the crowds are into this. I could be getting conned by fake crowd noise. It's not a feud that does it really for me, but as I said, the crowd seemed to be really into it. So I kind of feel like, you know, it's all right. This is an all right way to use these two at the moment. I'm not, like, down on it or anything. It's all right. I'll watch this match. Hopefully it'll be a good match. I'm guessing Happy Corbin wins because I'm guessing this is a feud. I don't think this is one and done. I can't see it being a case that Madcap wins and that's it, we move on. I'm thinking Happy Corbin wins and then we run this back on Smackdown or whatever goddamn show they're on. I can't remember. But I feel like we'll run it back. So I've got Corbin winning. Not loads to say about it. I mean, Madcap Moss used to be Happy Corbin's sidekick. He used to crack unfunny jokes. And then they ended up splitting apart, basically. And now here they are fighting against each other. We all knew it was going to go this way. Whenever there's two people that are put together, they're going to split apart. We're all waiting for RK Bro to split apart. So we're all waiting for that. So whenever there's two people put together, they do eventually split up. And yeah, that was it. That was it for Corbin and Madcap Moss. So they go up against each other at WrestleMania Backlash. Right, now, the good news is, after those matches, I feel like we do get to some good stuff. We've got 4 matches left to talk about, and then we can just spend like the rest of the time just chatting away, right? So the next 4 matches we've got, as I said, I think are really good. There's only one title match that's on this card at the moment. I don't know if another will be added. But let's start, shall we, with AJ Styles against Edge now. I'm really hoping that we get a new member of the House of Edge. Yeah, I'm really hoping that Judgment Day get a new member here. AJ Styles against Edge. I'm going to say that Edge wins. I don't understand why you would start a new faction and then have its leader lose so early. Like, it wouldn't make sense. Be like bringing in the Wyatt family and have Bray Wyatt lose, like, one of his first matches. Like, doesn't make sense. You want to build that faction up. You want to build, keep their momentum going. Build up the leader in particular. So this is Edge's faction. Doesn't make any sense for him to lose to AJ Styles here. I think AJ should be winning, but gets screwed, gets cheated, and I think he loses the match. How does he get screwed? How does he get cheated? With a new member of Judgment Day. So I'm thinking that Damian Priest could distract. I wouldn't be a fan of that because I think it's a bit predictable and a bit boring, a bit uncreative. What would be more creative would be a new member of Judgment Day. And I love the idea. You know where I'm going. You know what I'm going to say. I love the idea of Finn Balor. I love the idea of Finn Balor joining this group. I love the idea of Edge saying to Balor, you've been undervalued, underappreciated, and I want the demon. I want the demon. I want to unleash the demon, and I want the demon to bring Judgment Day to everyone on the Raw roster. So I like the idea. I think it's a natural fit. I think the dark, moody vibe of Judgment Day fits Balor's demon character very well. I think the fact that I could see Balor in a suit standing next to Damian Priest and Edge, and then, you know, we get heel Demon Balor matches. Imagine that. Heel Balor, heel Demon Balor, Demon King. I just think all of that is so juicy and mouthwatering, and it gives Finn something to do. So here I'm thinking Edge, AJ. I think AJ's going to be winning. I think Edge gets the win in the end because I think it's going to be a case that there's going to be someone interfere. Someone's going to help Edge. Edge won't win clean. There'll be outside interference. It could be by Damian Priest, but it would be better if it was a new member. And I think we are expecting new members for that group because I don't know if I can see Judgment Day just staying as Edge and Damian Priest. Whether we get that new member at WrestleMania Backlash or not, I can't say. But I think there's a very good chance that we do get a new member. So, yeah, I would love to see Finn Balor coming in. But we've spoken at length during our watch-alongs about who could come in and who the new members could be. And it could be this person, it could be that person. One of the people that we said that would be quite an interesting person to put in there was Haaland from NXT. And he's just been released. So clearly it's not going to be Haaland. But I would have thought that, he's got like the muscles. I don't know if you've seen him, Parker Bordeaux on Twitter. He's got like his arms all tattooed. He's about 22, 23. He's a former football player, but he does a lot of weights. And like he does a lot of pictures where it's like this and he is jacked. He is ripped. He is like absolutely bulked out and looks brilliant. Him being in Judgment Day, I think, would have been very eye-catching. But rumors are he just wasn't progressing the way that they hoped that he would progress. So as a result of that, they've ended up parting ways, unfortunately. So don't know how much truth there is to that, to be honest. But yeah, I think he looks. I'm sure he will land on his feet. He looks to be the kind of thing Vince would be into. But as I said, if he wasn't picking it up, then that's maybe why they parted ways. Miss Clown said Liv Morgan or Beth would be cool. Blaze said them using Finn like that would be great, but history doesn't bode well for them using the Demon. Well, that's true. Trini said, I think Tommaso could turn heel and be with Edge and Balor joining AJ in a faux Bullet Club. Tharuka said, a heel Demon Balor would be great. Hartley Tierman said Finn would be awesome in that role. Top tier likes Finn in that role. Yeah, in all fairness, we're not saying anything we've not run through before, but I do feel sorry for Balor, and I think a lot of people do, and I think the fact that his title reign came to an end meant a lot of people were under the impression, well, that's it, he's buried, that's it, he's dead, they've done him, they've killed him, it's over. But it doesn't have to mean that. It just means that he's now free to get his teeth into something else, and hopefully that something else is going to be something very creative that can really utilize him. Be that a faux Bullet Club, be that a Judgment Day, whatever it is. I just hope he's got something that he can get his teeth into, to be honest, because I really think that he deserves a spotlight. He deserves people to be seeing him on a regular basis and for him to show what he can do. It's sort of like having a Kevin Owens just sat on the sidelines. I just don't get it. He's a great wrestler. He can talk. He's got the alter ego, which people gravitate towards. He's just got so much going for him. I don't know. I don't know if he's upset someone backstage or what he's done, but yeah, clearly it's just not quite gone the way that a lot of us hoped when he was down in NXT. But let's see what they do with him. Next, we've got Seth Rollins against Cody Rhodes. Now, with this match, it's a rematch from WrestleMania. I've personally got Cody Rhodes winning. He won at WrestleMania in what could be my match of the year so far. I know there's probably some killer matches in New Japan, but I don't watch New Japan. But I think out of everything I've seen so far, I think Cody and Seth is still my match of the year so far. And I gave it 5 stars. I don't even know how long past WrestleMania we are now, and I still stand by it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought the moment that he was revealed and he came down, seeing him in the ring, them two having just a fantastic match. I just really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, loved it. First match was great. Totally down for watching a rematch. Got no problems with a rematch. I think that I think Cody has to win, though. I don't understand why Seth would win unless we're going to do a third. So, it could be 1-1 going into a third deciding sort of match. One match, one win each. You could do that story. I don't know that they're going to do that story, to be honest. I think, they'll probably just give the win to Cody. Unless Seth's going to cheat him, as we said. Maybe Seth cheats him, but I hope not. I think... for me, that first match was so good. It's just really hard to know how are they going to match that. How are they going to better that? I don't even know if they can, to be honest. But I'm looking forward to seeing them try. So, a little bit weird to get that rematch. It's a bit weird because there wasn't anything controversial about the first one. Do you know what I mean? So there's not really a reason for it. I think Seth's done a very good job, though, of saying, I wasn't ready for you. You knew that you was facing me, but I was facing a mystery person at WrestleMania. I didn't know I was facing you. I wasn't ready. So I think that's kind of an interesting angle. So I can understand him wanting the rematch, but it was a clean win, wasn't it, the first time around? And I really don't know what they're going to do different now. So we'll see. I've got Cody winning that, but I could see an argument as to why you would go the other way and why you would go with Seth Rollins and then do a third rubber match type thing. So next we've got I don't know which one to do. We've only got 2 matches left and then we'll jump in the chat. It's kind of working quite nice, actually. It means we'll have these predictions done within half an hour or so, and then we can jump in and chat away for half an hour, answering questions and everything, which is a nice way of doing it. So let's go Drew McIntyre, RK Bro Bloodline. It is the question in the chat. We've had nearly 300 votes. And look at that. So close. Bloodline, 51%. Drew and RK Bro, 49%. Nearly 50-50 as to who's going to win, which is really interesting. Because I think this is quite one-sided. I'm feeling quite confident on this one. I think that Drew and RK Bro win. And here's why, right? So in the chat, 51-49. I would say I'm 80-20, maybe even a bit higher for Drew and RK Bro. The reason being is because there's nothing on the line. There's no titles on the line. If Roman and Usos lose, they don't lose the belts. They're not for the belts. This isn't for the belts. There's no titles on the line here. So that means that there's no reason as to why RK Bro and Drew can't win. If the belts are on the line, then yes, Roman and the Usos would win. But there's no belts on the line. So this is very much one of those beat the champion to get a title shot type things. I can see Drew maybe pinning Roman, and then using that to get a match with Roman for the title. I pinned you at WrestleMania Backlash. I'm the first person to do it since you became champion. If your title had been on the line, I would be the new champion now, and then we build towards the next pay-per-view, which Money in the Bank, I'm not sure, where we get Drew versus Roman for the belts. So I think this will be a stepping stone for what is to come, and that's why if Roman and the Bloodline win, I don't really know where do we go after this. Does Drew just continue feuding for the sake of lols, or what do we do? But I think you can get to a rematch a lot easier if Drew and RK Bro win, because all of a sudden, RK Bro have now got something to gloat with over the Usos. Drew has got a reason to demand a title match. I see lots of positives as to why we should go that way. If Roman and the Usos win, they've just won, haven't they? I mean, Usos will get a title match with RK Bro at some point, I'm guessing. And Roman can just turn Drew down then, because he can be like, you didn't beat me at WrestleMania Backlash. You and your team couldn't beat me. I know Drew will be like, yeah, but it'll be different when we're one-on-one. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel as smooth, as clean. It doesn't feel as logical. The booking doesn't feel right. I think it makes a lot more sense for Drew and RK Bro to win for us to take that next step forwards. And sometimes when you are booking like those kind of shows, not that I've ever booked, but if ever you're fantasy booking, you do have to think a few steps ahead. And so that's why I've gone with Drew and RK Bro. So interesting that we've had 300 votes and people are like, ooh, 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 ooh. And obviously it could go either way. Who knows? I could be completely wrong and it could be Roman and the Usos. But as I said, I feel pretty good for Drew and RK Bro winning for that reason. So we'll find out. We are doing the watch-along, the live stream watch-along. It's next Sunday. Thanks, God. Thank you. Because it looked like it was going to be the same night as UFC on Saturday, but apparently it is not. It's on the Sunday, which means we can do UFC on the Saturday night. We can do WWE on the Sunday night. It means that next weekend, or this weekend coming, is a big, big, big weekend. 2 big shows back-to-back, so very much looking forward to that. Final match, the only title match that we've got, which, again, I don't know how many of you were here at the start, but I was saying I really like the fact there's only one title match. I don't mind another being added, but I think where they flood the card with title matches, that's fine for WrestleMania, which is 2 days. You can sort of get away with it with, like, SummerSlam and whatever, but I just don't think you need to do it on all of the cards. I don't think we need the United States Intercontinental, Raw Women's, SmackDown Women's, WWE Universal, the tag belts. I just don't think we need all of them being defended up at pay-per-views. I understand that you do need the shows to feel big, but I think if you've got a good storyline like Cody and Seth, that's just as good, if not better, than an Intercontinental Championship match. And actually, what that means is that you could do a women's match like Ronda and Charlotte as potentially the main event. Potentially, probably won't be. I'm guessing Drew and RK Bro, Bloodline, that'll probably main event. But you could have that women's match right at the top of the card, and then maybe an Intercontinental match just underneath it, or a United States Championship match just underneath it, or one of the tag team titles being defended underneath it. And that would do, to be honest. Because I think what it means then is those 2 big title matches are more important. They're not just 1 or 2 amongst 8. They are like the focus of the show, or a big focus of the show. Because, as I said, if you've got 8 titles being defended on the same show, then, chances are 1 or 2 will change hands, and a lot of them will probably stay with the champions. So it's kind of like, they kind of get in each other's way, I think. I think with UFC, and I do always use UFC as a reference, because I think UFC do some really good stuff. I think WWE do some good stuff that UFC could learn, and I think UFC do good stuff that WWE could learn. And for me personally, I think this weekend UFC has got 2 title fights. They feel big. They've big stars involved. Like, they are the main event and the co-main event, and they are the big focus of the show. They are carrying the weight of the show. And I kind of feel like you could do something similar with WWE. You have 2 title matches, and then have some really interesting non-title feuds underneath to fill out the cards. And then that way, the title matches are more important, and they get more focus. And then, it kind of is an overkill, rather than just, this is for this belt, right? Next match is for that belt. Next match is for this belt. Everyone gets a belt. It just feels a bit more prestigious, a bit more important. I go back to, if you go back to, wrestling from the 90s, early 90s, there was only 3 belts. So this idea that, or 8 titles being defended is something that's, been around forever. No. If you go back to, WrestleMania 5, WrestleMania 6, WrestleMania 7, WrestleMania 8, WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 10, there wasn't even a women's belt that was like being defended. I mean, you might get Alundra Blaze maybe defending at 10. I can't quite remember. She wasn't at 9. She wasn't at 8. They weren't at 7. So there wasn't like women's matches back then, which obviously is a bad thing. But what it did mean is you had the WWE title, the Winged Eagle. You had the Intercontinental. You had the tag team. That was it. That was it. If you wanted to have all the belts defended, that meant you had 3 title matches. That was it. Now you've got, when we did have the 2 big belts, WWE and Universal, well, there's 2. Then you've got Raw Women's, SmackDown Women's, there's 4. Then we've got Raw Tag Team, and then we've got SmackDown Tag Team, there's 6. Then you've got Intercontinental and United States, there's 8. 8 without even like trying and breaking a sweat. And then you've got the Women's Tag Team, so there's 9, right? And if you want to chuck the 24/7 on, we're hitting 10. We're hitting 10 titles. It's madness. So I like this detox where we've only got 1 title match, or 1 or 2 on the B shows. And as I said, once you get to like WrestleMania or a SummerSlam, then yeah, I can understand all the titles being defended for those kind of really big special cards. But I think for these shows, your Backlash, your Hell in a Cell, for all those kind of shows, just do a couple of title matches. Just rotate them. Doesn't need to be the same belts. Just rotate them. Do a couple of different ones. This time it's the SmackDown Women's and the Intercontinental. Next time might be the Raw Women's and the tag belts. It might be, after that we might have Roman defending his titles, and we might have the United States. So you could like mix it around a little bit. I really like that idea. So this one is for the WWE SmackDown Women's. It's an I Quit match, and it's Charlotte against Ronda. Now, I think a lot of us, myself included, thought that Ronda was going to win at WrestleMania. She didn't. Quite surprised at that. But then immediately we get it announced that there's going to be a rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. And I can't be the only one that went, oh, okay, so she wins there then. So I really think Ronda wins this. I can't see Ronda saying the words, I quit. I just can't see that. I mean, I'm shocked that she agreed to lose at WrestleMania this year again. I can't see her agreeing to saying the word I quit. So yeah, I think that this is where Ronda wins. I think Ronda wins the title here. I think she celebrates with the belt, and I think what would be a brilliant move from WWE is to do one of 2 things, right? I think they either have the winner of Asuka and Becky walk out at the end of the show to show that they're next in line or interested. So they either have like the winner of Asuka and Becky come out to show that, which is probably less likely because both of those women are over on Raw and this is a SmackDown title. So I would say it's less likely, but I think it could be a cool moment because obviously everyone's waiting for Charlotte Becky. Charlotte Becky? Everyone's waiting for Ronda Becky one-on-one, or at least they were. I'm personally waiting for Ronda Asuka. I would love Ronda Asuka. So it doesn't really bother me. Like Asuka, Ronda, Becky, Ronda. Just a little tease. I'm not saying that it leads to a match. I appreciate they're on different brands. But just a little tease. Just a little moment of sort of like enjoy your moment because I'm coming for you type thing. Doesn't need to be now, but it will be soon. It could be at some point. And I just like the idea of them just planting a seed. Gives you something to think about. There'll be a lot of speculation of, do you think they're going to move Asuka over to SmackDown? Do you think they're going to do that feud? Or I like it. I like that. And I think it's good. I would do that if you had nothing else planned. If you didn't have any other option, I think rather than Ronda winning the title and just celebrating and the pay-per-view ends, I like the idea of the winner of that match earlier coming out. Oh God, could you imagine if that pay-per-view ended with Ronda and Asuka face-to-face in the ring? And Ronda just holding up that SmackDown Women's Championship and Asuka just staring at it and staring at her. I think it'd be so good. I think it'd be so good. I know everyone's going to be like, oh, they're on different brands, blah, 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 but come on. The different brands thing is rubbish. It's rubbish because we've seen WWE throw the different brand thing away many, many times. Do you know what I mean? It's different brands when they need it to be. It's not when they don't need it to be. Like, so many times we've seen SmackDown stars go to Raw stars go to SmackDown. If they want to do something, they'll do it. Vince ain't going to be worrying about, oh, I can't do that because they're on different brands. He ain't going to think about that once. And as I said, you wouldn't even need to necessarily do the match. I think just teasing it would get people excited. The better option, though, would be to bring Bayley back. I think bringing back Bayley at this show. So, Bayley's a heel. I can't remember if she ever faced Ronda, to be honest. I think she's a free agent as well for all you. They can't do that because they're on different brands, right? People. So this way you could bring back Bayley. You could bring Bayley back. She likely will be going to SmackDown. She was on SmackDown before, and I don't know that Raw needs her. So she could end up going over to SmackDown. She was a heel when she left. Ronda's a face, so it fits really easy. The only thing is Bayley ready to return? I don't have an answer on that, but it's got to be soon. It's got to be soon. And I think bringing her back at this pay-per-view would be the right move because this pay-per-view is lacking. Do you know what I mean? This pay-per-view doesn't really have much going for it, I don't think. I think there's a lot of rematches. You got Bobby Lashley or Moss in a match that I don't think too many people are bothered about. Happy Corbin, Madcap is fine, but it would sit fine on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre and RK Bro against Bloodline is fine, but because the belts aren't on the line, it would sit fine on SmackDown. AJ Edge, I think, is quite interesting. Cody Seth, I'm down for. Charlotte Ronda for the title, I think, is fine and interesting. Asuka Becky would be good. But really, that's it. I mean, it's not the biggest card. If you actually take a few matches off because, do you know what I mean? They're all right. I kind of think that this card is lacking a little bit. Maybe as well because the last pay-per-view we had was WrestleMania. A 2-day WrestleMania where Stone Cold had a match and all this kind of stuff. So, maybe in comparison to that, it's just been a really good year. I mean, if you think about, like, we had Royal Rumble, we had Day 1, which was the first time we'd ever had Day 1. Then we went to Royal Rumble. Then we went to Saudi Arabia. Then we had WrestleMania. So now this feels like the first B show of the year, to be honest, because Day 1 was a B show, but it's the first time we ever had it, so we didn't know what to expect. Was it in a bit of a stadium as well? I can't remember. I really can't remember where Day 1 was held now, but it was the first time we'd had it. So there was a lot of excitement around it for that. Royal Rumble was Royal Rumble. Saudi shows are always big, right? Because everyone knows they bring out the legends. They want to please the Saudi royal family. So those never feel like B shows. A lot of the time they don't feel brilliant. A lot of the time they're not great. They're shows that are a little bit cringe in places because sometimes you get Undertaker versus Goldberg, or you get Goldberg beating The Fiend for the title or something like this. So sometimes they're not brilliant, but certainly don't feel like B shows. And as I said, WrestleMania is the most A show in pro wrestling. And then you've got this, which I think is the first B show that we've had, to be honest. So that's probably why it feels a little bit of a step down. They've done well, in all fairness, to get to May and give us what feels like the first B show of the year. So yeah, that's probably why it feels like it's lacking a little bit. Overall, I would say I'm about 7 out of 10 hyped for this. I think, there's definitely potential for, like, could someone join Judgment Day? Could Bayley come back? Could we get some swerves? Could, RK Bro lose and then split up? I doubt it because they're tag champs, so it wouldn't really make any sense. But I think there is potential for a few things to happen. I do think Asuka Becky will get added to the card. Right, that's the breakdown. Let's have a look and see what people are saying. Bayley has faced Ronda before, says Miss Clown One. Can't recall it, to be honest. I believe you. Root Beer, look how they're doing. AJ, bring the club back. Priest versus Finn. It looks to be a tie-in. Has Asuka ever faced Ronda? No, not to my knowledge. I love Asuka, and I remember when Ronda first arrived in WWE, Asuka just won Royal Rumble, and Ronda came down, and we all thought she was going to be in the Rumble. She wasn't. She came down after the Rumble, and she looked at the champions and just looked them up and down. Didn't do anything, just looked them up and down. And then she saw Asuka, and she actually put her hand out to congratulate her. And I'm sure you remember the moment because it's brilliant. Asuka just plays this perfectly. She just stands very, very still, and the hand's put out to her. She stands very, very still, stares at Ronda, and just goes, slaps the hand away. Not interested in your congratulations. So, like, I remember as soon as she did that, everyone's like, oh. Ronda gave a little smirk on her face as she does. But we never got the match. So, yeah, I would love to see Asuka Ronda. I think it'd be really, really cool. It'd be a brilliant, brilliant match. Brilliant. Hard hitting because I think, like, with Asuka, I feel like you don't need to be as gentle. You know, I'm sure Asuka would disagree. But I feel with Asuka, like, Ronda would probably be allowed to, like, you know, really chuck some stuff in. I think that's when Ronda looks her best. You know, when Ronda's not pulling her punches. Because you know that Ronda can do the kind of stuff Hook can do. You know how Hook grabs people and hip tosses them over. I mean, Jesus. I mean, Ronda's a Olympian and won a medal for judo. Do you know what I mean? She was trained by Judo Jean LaBelle. Her mom went to the Olympics in judo as well. Like, she was employing judo a lot in the UFC. So all that kind of really nice, crisp work that you see from Hook, that's got Hook over, is the exact kind of stuff you should be seeing from Ronda, where, you know, she's smashing people over and grabbing arms, and, you know, I think sometimes she has to, like, pull her punches a little bit because she's dangerous. She's a dangerous, dangerous woman. She could seriously hurt people, and she could break arms. She could break people's arms and really, really hurt people. So I think she has to be gentle. I think with Asuka, you could probably get away with not being as gentle, which is why I think it'd look really, really cool. Harley said there's so many good dream matches for Ronda, like Bianca, Rhea, Asuka, Becky, Shayna. Bayley did face Ronda on a Raw, but this is a whole new Bayley. Do you agree we should get Elias and Ezekiel against Kevin Owens and Kevin Steen at WrestleMania Backlash? We have never seen Kevin Steen in WWE. So if they could sign him and get him signed up, then yes, I would completely agree. Alex said, will John Cena win his 17th title? I am going to say no. No, I don't think he will, and I don't think he should, because I think that he should have stuck around if he wanted that. I think the moment that he decided to leave and pursue other things like Hollywood was the moment that he basically ended his career, really. You know, you can come back and have the odd match, a bit like what Goldberg has, but I don't think that the person that gets that 17th title reign should be a part-time Hollywood person. I think the person that gets it should still be a full-time active member of the roster. So I don't think Cena will get it. I also don't think Cena should get it. I think the person that should get it will likely be Charlotte Flair first, if you want to count that. If you don't want to count that, then you could make a very good argument for Randy Orton, who I think is on 13 or 14. He said he wants to stick around till he's 50, I think. He's got no interest in going to Hollywood. And he is as hot as ever. You know, this RK Bro thing has been really, good for him. Can we see him having a few more title runs? Absolutely. I can see them putting the belt on Randy Orton. He's still an absolute main event star. He still looks good. Yep. You can still put it on his shoulders. As I said, I think he can get another couple. Can he get to the 17? I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. It might not even be Randy Orton. It might have to be someone that's not even around yet. But yeah, not the direction I would personally go. Alexa Bliss Gamer said, I think Alexa Bliss will return to the Raw after WrestleMania Backlash. That would be good to get her back. That would be good. Get her back, see what a gimmick is. Everyone knows my thoughts on Alexa Bliss. I like her. I think she's very good promo. I think she's very good wrestler. I think she can wrestle. She can cut promos. She is a bit small, but she packs a punch. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that's a big problem. And I'm just not a fan of the gimmick that she's got, to be honest. So I think if she comes back and we can give her something interesting to get her teeth into, then I'm totally down for seeing what we do with Alexa Bliss this year, yeah. It should be Randy. He said he wants to be around for another 10 years, says Tharuka. Bunker said it's 14 for Randy. Austin says 14. Thank you. I can see him getting another couple. 10 years is a long time, but I'm just thinking towards the end, a 47, 48, 49-year-old Randy Orton, is he going to be used in full-time programs? Look, if Vince wants Randy to be the one and he identifies Randy as the one, he's got plenty of time to, put the belt on him a few more times. And then I think you can tell a story of, will Randy get the 17th? And you could make it into a story. And how beautiful if Randy Orton's last match was for the title. And it's like, whatever happens, he's going to retire. But will he retire as a 17-time world champion? Or will he retire losing his last match? And I think that could be really interesting. That could be really interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could spend a few years where he's tried and failed to get that 17th. I definitely think there's more you can do with someone that's a full-time person, a full-time performer, than like someone that just keeps popping back from Hollywood. So, yeah, a Randy Orton would be my pick. Randy won't get any more major runs like in 2009, but 3 or 4 more quick runs like his last one is definitely possible, says Jordan. Tharuka said, I don't like Charlotte doing it because they had many others who deserved it. What did you think about Dakota Kai's release? I thought that apparently she wanted to not re-sign anyway. So whatever I thought of it is not irrelevant, but in a way it's her choice. She didn't want to re-sign, is what I've heard. So if that is true, then, I can't criticize WWE for cutting her, to be honest, because if they've looked at the NXT budget and they've said, right, we need to just trim this a little bit, like, we need to cut this down a little bit, wouldn't the people that are not re-signing, wouldn't they be the first that you would look to get rid of? They would for me. If I've got a team, and, we're a team and we're putting on a show, if there's people in that team that are like, yeah, I'm not sticking around, as soon as my contract's done, I'm leaving, then all of a sudden I get told you need to cut a few people. Who am I cutting? Am I going to cut the kids that, want to stick around and give their all and, want to go to the main roster and all this kind of stuff? Or am I cutting the people that say they don't want to re-sign? So I can't really criticize WWE for making that call, if that is true. my first reaction was, this is crazy. I think her current character is rubbish. I think it's rubbish. This kind of twitching, talking to herself type thing, I think it's rubbish. But that's just bad creative that can be changed. I don't think she's rubbish. I think what she's doing is rubbish. But I think the reason she was cut was nothing to do with that. I think it was because she didn't want to resign. Wrestler with Andy, hello, said, do you think Orton will have a longer run than The Undertaker? Well, he needs to last another 10 years and then a little bit more, because Undertaker did 30 years, and I think we've literally just celebrated Randy's 20, so he would need to do another 10. Now, granted, Undertaker got to the point where he was just doing once a year, wasn't he, as he got towards the end? He was just doing, like, once a year WrestleMania appearances. And this is what I'm saying. With Randy, you might just get to that point because the body is the body. It's all well and good him now at this age saying, I want to do another 10 years. Fast forward, 7 years or whatever, with 7 more years of wear and tear, 7 more years of the road, traveling around, flying to different places as they tour around. It gets you down. It wears you down. It wears everyone down. All the old wrestlers are beat up. Do you know what I mean? All the old wrestlers have got, like, injuries and can't walk right and got constant chronic pain and all this kind of stuff. It's horrific. So I kind of think, is he going to outlast The Undertaker? I'm going to lean toward, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because he could, but if he does, he's only going to outlast him by, I think, doing one-off matches in, like, once in a while. Technically, like, I think he will, but I think it'll be a case of, does it count kind of a thing, Undertaker called it a day, bang on 30 years. So if the goal is that Randy's just got to have a... What if Randy went away for 10 years and came back in 11? How about that? What if Randy Orton didn't do anything now and then came back in 11 years and had a match? Then he would have had a 31-year career. Does that count? So I'm saying it's a bit of a... how do you measure it? If it's going to be time, then I think he could go longer than 30 years, yes. I think he started in WWE a bit younger than The Undertaker did as well, so he won't be as old as The Undertaker was once he gets to that 30-year mark, but I still think he'll be working a part-time schedule by then. And then, in order to beat The Undertaker, he just needs to have a match the following year at WrestleMania or something, and then, I'm guessing that counts. So, I'll say he does beat him, but it might be a bit controversial or dubious. I don't see Bucks, but with Kenny, he almost went at the beginning of 2019, says James. Randy wants to wrestle until he is 50. Randy said his dream is for the WWE title to be vacated somehow in the future, and then you get Orton Cena at WrestleMania for the first time for the world title. Winner breaks the record. That's cool, actually. That's cool. I'd be down for that. And I'd have Orton win. I'd be down for that. Orton Cena. Yeah, that is cool. I hope he runs that past Vince. Randy Orton versus John Cena, both on 16. Winner gets to be a 17-time world champion. That would be fun. I'd be down for that. That's a hell of a story, innit? It's a hell of a story. Eminem said, do you think the Bloodline will win? I don't personally. We had 300. We've gone through the whole predictions. So I, at that point, said I think it'll be Drew and RK Bro. The reason why I went that way was because I think that Drew and RK Bro, if they win, they can use that to get title shots. Or certainly Drew can. RK Bro looked like they were going to get a title match anyway against the Usos to try and see who was going to unify the tag belts. But Drew at the moment doesn't really have much of a case to be next to face Roman. The only thing is, with WWE, all you've got to do is walk down and challenge the champion and you get a shot. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't... doesn't really matter. Drew can just walk down on SmackDown. As long as he upsets Roman in some way, and just interrupting him will do that. I'm pretty sure he'll get a title match. But I think it's a better story if they win this match, and then Drew can use that as a reason as to why he deserves a title shot. And then we've got to be on the verge of a Drew and Roman feud now. I mean, when they did the draft, it was the most obvious feud on SmackDown. It was the most obvious one. I mean, I've said before, we sat here when that draft happened. We got all the wrestlers and we were like, that's a main eventer, that's a mid-carder, that's a tag division, there's women's division. We did that for Raw and SmackDown. And there was only 2 main eventers on SmackDown. It was Roman and Drew, and that was it. Everyone else was like Jeff Hardy, who, no disrespect to Jeff Hardy, isn't a main eventer in 2022 or 2021. You know, he might be able to have a one-off match or whatever, but he's, you know, mid-card, you know, he would have a mid-card belt. He's someone that the fans love, and he's a legend, but he's not Roman, and he's not Cody, and he's not Brock, and he's not, you know, one of those that's going to be absolutely, you know, in and around main events for the foreseeable future. I mean, he's gone over to, like, AEW, and, you know, over there, he's just in with Matt doing, like, the Hardy Boys and just kind of bobbing around the mid-card again, you know what I mean? So, again, no disrespect to him, but it was people like Jeff Hardy, Cesaro, Nakamura. You can't really make an argument. They might get one-off shots at the belt, but they're not people that are going to be around the title. The thing with Drew is he was WWE champion. He's moved over to SmackDown, knew that he was going to be in a feud with Roman. It's just that Roman's been busy with Brock, so we've needed something else for Drew to do, and that has been, unfortunately, swinging a sword around and threatening Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin, and he's had to do that for 5 months. So we've just been keeping him busy. But now that's done, now we can start moving with the Drew and Roman feud. So yeah, I think I think for me personally, Drew and RK Bro makes sense to win that, and then Drew can use that to challenge Roman. Murray says, in your mind, who's the greatest wrestler of all time? In my opinion, Undertaker stands above all, says Murray. I think the greatest wrestler of all time is Ric Flair. I think that it's difficult because I think there were some incredible wrestlers, but they're from a time where you just don't get to see really the impact that they had. Like, for example, Gorgeous George was on one of the first wrestlers to be on TV, and he was a massive star as a result. Like, everyone knew who Gorgeous George was, and the impact of Gorgeous George has kind of been lost really throughout time. But he used to come down in, like, you know, he's one of the first people to have entrance music. He's one of the first people to really have a gimmick. You know, there's so much about Gorgeous George that's, like, historic, that, you know, changed the game. Because it's like the 1940s, 1950s. He came down to Pomp and Circumstance, Macho Man's music, before Macho Man. He used to come down in, like, all his finery. He used to have, like, pins in his hair. His hair used to be, like, permed. He'd have a robe, and he'd come down, he'd be spraying, like, perfume as he came down. And you gotta remember, this is just, you know what I mean? And, like, to see this guy prancing down to the ring, spraying perfume on himself with his hair permed and calling himself Gorgeous George and everything, like, healing it up, thinking that he's the best thing in the world. Like, this is just, it's iconic. It changed the game. You know, a lot of the stuff that he was doing is stuff that you still see these days. That's the impact that, like, someone like Gorgeous George had on wrestling. You can go even further back to the likes of Ed Strangler Lewis as well, and the impact that he had. You know, these are people that have got wrestling to where it is, and so their impact on wrestling and the impact they had at their time, we can't appreciate. It's so hard to say this is the best wrestler ever, because How do you compare? I mean, Luthez, one of the longest reigning NWA champions ever, is, invented loads of moves. He held the NWA title for the longest time. He is back in the 50s and the 60s. The NWA belt was bigger than the WWE belt. WWE belt was, just in the north, but the NWA belt was all over America. If you was the NWA champion, you was the man. You was the guy. You was the wrestling champion, and Luthez was the man. He was the guy. So I always think about those names. I always think about Ed Strangler, Luthez, but you can't deny what Ric Flair did. Ric Flair was the NWA champion in the 80s. And, main evented Starcades, had classics with the like of... he's done it all. He's absolutely done it all. I think that Ric Flair would be on the Mount Rushmore. I think Luthez is on the Mount Rushmore as well. And this conversation that we've, had before. I think if you're just looking at WWE, then I think the best gimmick is The Undertaker. And the longevity is with The Undertaker. I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at WWE superstars if Undertaker came out at one. I think, Shawn, Bret, Hogan, can't ignore Hogan, Cena, Roman, Bruno Sammartino. I think all of these kind of shake out, in and around that top 20 kind of ballpark. Randy Orton, of course, would be in there as well. So yeah, I would say Undertaker, if you want to talk WWE. If you want to talk wrestling as a whole, then I'd include those other names. Aseeb said, is it next month when the pay-per-view clashes with... Oh, a little bit of lag. Boom. William said, little bit of lag. Yep, we got rid of it. Sick of this lag. What have you missed in the stream so far? Well, do you know what, Edwards? All you have to do is hit that rewind and you can just relive it. How about that? Richard said, do you think The Rock is going to replace Adam Pearce as GM? No. I don't think he will, because I think The Rock is busy in Hollywood, isn't he? So I can't see The Rock leaving Hollywood. Jilly said, with today's world and its crazy woke culture, Ric Flair could be erased from the history books if they pry into his past and bring up stuff from 20 or 30 years ago. Maybe. I think maybe. It could be that he, isn't really spoken about. I mean, in a way, if you want to talk about the most technically gifted wrestlers, you'd have to mention Chris Benoit. I mean, Chris Benoit was just brilliant in the ring. His match quality was absolutely fantastic. But, if WWE were to do a list now of the most technical wrestlers ever, Benoit ain't getting mentioned. Benoit ain't getting mentioned at all. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? If it does keep, going that way, then maybe it'll get to the point where Ric Flair doesn't get mentioned. But... whilst we're still mentioning him, I think it's only fair to say that for me, he probably is the best. What about Dusty? Without Rick, Dusty rivalry, they wouldn't have made as much money as they did. Yeah, I mean, Dusty was really important. I feel like Dusty's in the conversation and for greatest pro wrestlers of all time. I wouldn't have him at the top, or to be perfectly truthful, anywhere near the top. I think that Dusty was a great opponent for Ric Flair. He was obviously a former NWA champion, but he didn't have the same impact in WWE because when he moved to WWE, it was really late in his career. He pretty much spent his career in the NWA, really. Obviously, he had an impact in NXT and he had an impact as a booker, but I just think that Ric Flair was, from an in-ring perspective, if we're talking pro wrestler, not everything that comes with it, like booking and promoting and all of that. If we are just talking in-ring, I think what Ric Flair did is, miles above Dusty. I mean, more title reigns, more title matches, more feuds, Great feuds. I think the Steamboat feud really elevates Ric Flair. I mean, there's a few opponents, actually, as you said, him and Dusty, huge. But then him and Steamboat was bigger for me. I think that if you're talking about Omega and Okada in the current age, I think Flair and Steamboat was that in the late 80s. And then, we go into the Sting feud. I mean, Ric Flair and Sting. Sting might be Ric Flair's most iconic opponent. So, you then kind of go into that. And so I just feel like he just constantly didn't reinvent himself. That's actually one of the criticisms of Ric Flair, is if you've seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen them all. That's what they say. He had his go-tos. He had his things that worked. And he just kept playing his greatest hits basically all the time. He didn't really reinvent himself. He didn't really give you anything any different. But what he did was great. His in-ring work was great. He was a brilliant heel. I think he's the best heel of all time. And I also think that promo-wise, he is right up there. It's hard to say if he's the best promo of all time, but I think he's one of. I think his promo skills are amazing. I think he's one of the best heels of all time. I think he did it in the NWA. I think he did it in WCW. He did it in WWE. I know he's had little appearances in other companies, but yeah. And then his longevity, to go from like the 80s. I think he was around for about 30 odd years as well, wasn't he? He had like Undertaker longevity. So, yeah. There's a few. There's absolutely a few. You could sit here and chuck loads of names around, but it's each to their own, innit? Each to their own. William said Gunther looks good, so does Corbin. They're natural heels. Murray said Scott Hall, R.I.P., one of the greats. Shauna said Rick said his Hall of Fame speech that it was Steamboat that was his greatest opponent. I agree that they're his best matches. They are. The matches he has with Steamboat are incredible. He had loads of great matches though. I mean, he did just keep churning out amazing matches because he had this brilliant ability, because he had a certain. He knew what he wanted to do and what he wanted to get into the match. And it was never anything that adventurous. Ric Flair's never going to give you triple somersaults and all this kind of stuff. But what he does do is he knows where he is in a ring. He knows how to bring the story and the drama out of a match. And he knows, and this is the most important thing, how to make his opponent look good. He knows how to put the other person over. And that's something he did so well. He could really make, the bit like, when he gets hit or something, and then like he walks forward and falls over, like really puts over like, how powerful that shot was. I mean, he did that on a regular basis, but it was just one of those kind of things that he used to do to show like how hurt he was and put over the other person. He had I'm just thinking now, like when Bret Hart won the title from him in 92, it's a great match. It was a Coliseum home video match, and if you've not seen it, it's a really good match. It's a really, really fun match, and Bret Hart wins the title. It was not shown on TV. It was not at a paper. Well, it might have been shown on TV, like a Superstars, but it's not like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. When Bret Hart wins his first ever WWE title, it's a VHS video exclusive. How mad is that? And even Bret's like, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they thought that was the right thing to do. I mean, they did it to try and sell VHS videos. That's why they did it. If you want to see Bret winning the title, then buy this videotape. That's why they did it. But it meant that not a lot of people didn't get to see the match. And yeah, could you just imagine that? Imagine like on Raw comes on, and all of a sudden, Cody Rhodes has got the belts. You'd be like, what's this? What's this? And then they go, amazing news. So last night at Lakeland, there was a match between Roman Reigns and Cody, and shock result, Cody Rhodes is the new WWE Universal Champion, Heavyweight Champion. If you want to see that match, you need to buy the brand new Cody Rhodes DVD box set. The match will be added as a very special feature. It's the only way you can see the match. If you want to see the moment that Cody beats Roman Reigns, then you need to buy the Cody Rhodes DVD box set. That's what they did to Bret Hart. But that match with him and Ric Flair is amazing. And then I was thinking about in '93, the Ric Flair Mr. Perfect loser leaves WWE match. So damn good. That is even better. That's even better than the Bret Hart one. And that was on Raw. I think like the second or third ever episode of Raw is loser leaves WWE, Ric Flair Mr. Perfect. It's amazing. Brilliant match. So yeah, he just had this great ability to just churn out great matches. And I think it's because of his style, to be honest. He never did anything that adventurous, but it just meant that he had this ability to make you, to draw you into the contest. You know, he had this ability to, you know, make you get lost in the story of the match, you know. He really was a master. He really was. I say was. I mean, he's still alive, but he's obviously not wrestling anymore. But, yeah, he's... they haven't made many like him, let me tell you. They haven't made many like him. I don't know if there's many out there. I mean, the closest we've got these days to people that can really bring you in would be the likes of AJ Styles, maybe. You know, kind of that kind of caliber. A Bryan Danielson, if you want to go to AEW. Cody might be the WWE Smackdown Tag Champ with Randy to celebrate Orton's 20 years over the Usos or RK Bro. Alex said, do you think The Rock will go against Roman at WrestleMania? Yes, I do. Ric Flair in that plane crash. I think Flair is not human, says Dana. Holloway fan said Rick Rude was ahead of his time. Yeah, Rick Rude he was really cool. I mean, I don't know why they didn't pull the trigger with him. I suppose it's because he was around at the time of like all the steroids. And even though I think Rick Rude was on steroids, he could never get the same size as a Hogan or a Warrior. So even though Rick Rude is absolutely shredded, like you could grate cheese on his abs, he's just absolutely shredded. He's not got the bulk and the size of the Ultimate Warrior or Hulk Hogan. I mean, if you was around in the 80s and like you wanted to be WWE champion, you was going to have to find a way past Warrior, Hogan, you know, until you get to 92 and then you get to the steroid trial and then obviously things change. But, yeah, I mean, how are you getting past Hogan? 84 to 88, which is, 1,400 days, I think, that title reign. That reign is just so iconic. I can't imagine wrestling without that Hulk Hogan reign, that Hulkamania title reign. Which is why, that's the last time anyone had a 1,000-day title reign. Which is why, if Roman can do it, it would really make this, I think, a pivotal point as well. I mean, when I look back into wrestling, I have, certain markers that I remember things by. So, 2001, I remember is the end of the Attitude Era. And that makes me immediately think WrestleMania 17. So I know WrestleMania 17 is 2001. I know that, 97, you've got the Montreal Screwjob. I know in 92, you got a steroid trial. I know Owen Hart passes away in 99. You've just got these, markers throughout, hit wrestling. And I just think that 84 to 88 period, for me, is just dominated by Hogan, Hulkamania. And Hulkamania carries on after, because obviously in 90, we've got Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 6. But, that run is just so historic. And the reason we're talking about it is that is what Roman is doing right now. I really think that we will look back on this time as being a marker, and we'll remember it by this Roman title reign. This Roman title reign is just, it's the thing that's happening right now. You know, if you're like young, when you're older and you talk to your kids and they're asking you about like what was wrestling like in your time, it's this Roman title reign. Certainly if you're a WWE fan, it's this Roman title reign that will be what you'll be talking about. So you'll probably talk about the rise of the women as well. That's been obviously an ongoing thing since 2015, 2016-ish. Like how women have got like more opportunities. You know, they've now got a Money in the Bank. They've got a Royal Rumble. They've been in Hell in a Cell. They're now competing at Saudi Arabia. It hasn't all happened at once. It's been, you know, a gradual thing as years have gone by. But I think that's one of the stories of this era. But the other one would be what Roman's title reign right now. So that's why I'm just, as I've said, not eager for it to end, to be honest. I don't really want it to end. I just want it to keep going and continue because I really think this is one of the all-time great title reigns. I'm, you know, starting to get into that mindset of this being like Hulkamania kind of a thing. Maybe not the same impact culturally. I don't, you know, Hulkamania was like on talk shows and, you know, everyone knew who Hulk Hogan was. I don't think it's had that same cultural impact, but I think from a duration and impact on WWE, I think that it is starting to become comparable. If you think about impact to WWE and how Roman... I mean, hasn't Roman, like, main evented the last 4 WrestleManias or something stupid? Like, WrestleMania 33, he went up against Undertaker. WrestleMania 34, he main evented against Brock. 35 was the women. 36 was... he wasn't there. So maybe it's not 4 in a row that he's done, but is it 4 overall? 37 against Edge and Daniel Bryan. 38 against Brock. No, he's had more than 4 main events, because he main evented at 31 against Brock. And then didn't he main event at 32 against Triple H? And then 33 against Undertaker. 34 against Brock again. 35 was the women. 36, he wasn't there. 37 was against Edge and Daniel Bryan. And then this year against Brock again. Has he main evented WrestleMania 6 times? 6-time WrestleMania main eventer? Damn. 6-time WrestleMania. How many times did Hogan do it? 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, sort of 9. That's about it, isn't it? 'Cause he did face The Rock, but it wasn't the main event. So I think he had 8, and I think Roman's had 6. Bit more work for Roman to do. Shall we call this Romania? Yeah! Well done. That's very good. You should tweet that out. Can we call this Roman Reigns era Romania? Yes, that is very good. That is very, very good. What you gonna do when Romania runs wild on you? That's very good. Austin said Roman has main evented 31, 32, 33, 34, 37, 38. Boom. He was doing 36 and then COVID came along. That is true. Yeah, that is true. It's mad. That is mad, isn't it? That is mad. 6 times he's main evented WrestleMania. I mean, I don't know why. I think just because Hogan had just dominated the 80s and Hulkamania and everything had just, you know, it just changed WWE. You know, if you look at WWE before Hulkamania and then compare it to after Hulkamania, it just revolutionized everything, changed everything. And to think that he main evented 8 times and Roman's already on 6 is, because he's going to main event next year. If it's him against The Rock, do you know what I mean? Like, there's 7, and then he just needs to do one more to match Hogan. And in all fairness, one of Hogan's is when he goes at 9. up against Yokozuna, and he's not really even meant to have that match, but he comes out and beats Yokozuna in like 30 seconds. So it's not an official main event. It's a throwaway thing. You have to count it because it is a match and it is official, and it is the last match of WrestleMania 9. Hogan against Yokozuna, even if it was just for 30 odd seconds. But yeah, that's crazy, man. I never really stopped to think about it. Don't forget the encounter with Mr. McMahon regarding Hogan. Yeah, I mean, that's at 19, isn't it? But again, that's not the main event, unless we're talking about a different one that I can't remember. But he has a match with Mr. McMahon at 19, but the main event at 19 was Angle and Brock, if my memory serves me correctly. I suppose, like, it depends what you call a main event. I'm just talking about closing the show type thing. Smurfy Toon said Roman could main event until he retires. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the impact that Roman has had has been absolutely undeniable. The impact Hogan had was also undeniable, but fair play to Roman. I didn't appreciate the impact quite that he's already had with main event in WrestleMania 6 times. I mean, it is. What else does he need to do? I mean, he's a multiple-time champion. He's won the Royal Rumble, which I always think is something people would want on their resume. He's main evented WrestleMania like 6 times. I think he's won I know he won the Intercontinental. I don't think he's bothered about the United States. He might have won it. I can't remember. Tag titles he won when he was in the Shield. Because he and Seth were tag champs and Ambrose was the US champion. So, I mean, look, he's won Royal Rumble. He's won the main belts. He's won main evented WrestleMania 6 times. He's been a tag team champion. You do start looking at it going, what else is there for him to achieve? What else is there for him to do? I mean, apart from just keep going around and spinning his wheels and repeating himself, will we get to a point where he will leave us soon for Hollywood? I think there's probably a chance. To be honest, that he will. I think, you don't want to run your body into the ground. And his body, what with him having leukemia and everything, or having had it, is maybe in a bit more of a vulnerable place than the average person. Even though he's jacked and looks incredible, I kind of think that, get out whilst your health is good type thing, So whilst your health is relatively good, why not just get out whilst your health is good and then go to Hollywood and still make loads of money, raise your profile, do what The Rock does. I'm sure The Rock would help him get into Hollywood. Good-looking guy, jacked. Hollywood would love him. So, yeah, maybe we won't have Roman around for too much longer. Depends how much he loves it. Depends how much, just wrestling. He just loves wrestling. Don't know. Alex said, at WrestleMania Hollywood, will The Rock beat Roman to be the best of the family? I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think that the story should be that Roman's out of control. Rock tries to be the one to control it and bring honor to the family name, but I think even he fails. And the person that will beat Roman needs to be someone that's a full-timer, because they need to then benefit from having that prestige and that honor of being the one. And I don't think Rock should be the one. How does The Rock benefit? Will Rock, and I said this about Brock at WrestleMania, will Rock be a bigger star than he is already if he beats Roman at next year's WrestleMania? No, he will not. He will not be a bigger star, right? The Rock is as big as he's ever going to be. You cannot make The Rock any bigger. So The Rock will not be any bigger. So if he's not going to be any bigger, then there's no point doing it for me, because you can make the argument, we should do it because it's the right story to tell. It's the right thing to do. But I think that the right thing to do is to have someone that's there full-time be the one to beat Roman. If The Rock beats Roman, and then The Rock wins the belts or whatever, then what's he going to do? I mean, he's not going to stick around, is he? He's in Hollywood. So he's going to have, either drop the belts, forfeit them, or just basically lose them back to Roman, or surrender them at the next pay-per-view. Like, you're not... What people want is they want The Rock back, and they want him to stay back. They want The Rock to come back, and then they want The Rock to have a run and to electrify them every week. Well, it ain't happening. It's not going to happen. He's not doing that. He's in Hollywood. If he comes back, he's coming back for one match. So what benefit is there for him to win one match? Like, it's good for him, but how so he beats Roman and then goes. So what are we left with after that? We're left with a defeated Roman. And that's it. Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't mean they won't do it, but it doesn't make any sense. For me, I'd have Roman beat Rock. That way, Rock goes back to Hollywood. Roman can then gloat about it. Like, that was your idol. That was the guy you thought was going to beat the tribal chief. That guy is the guy you thought was going to beat the head of the table. And all this. I'm in different mode. I'm in God mode. And he can go off at the crowd. Like saying that was the guy you thought was going to do it. And then boom, music hits. Out comes Bron Breakker, or out comes Gunther, or out comes Gable Steveson. And here's the person that does it. Here's the person that ends it. Because they're young, they're hungry, they're sticking around. They can beat him, they can give him a rematch. We can do a feud, we can do loads of stuff. But you can't do loads of stuff with The Rock. He ain't going to stick around. He ain't going to stick around. So for me, The Rock winning is just a dead end. That's what it is. It's a dead end. Like, if there's nowhere to go. So I would much rather us pull the trigger on a young gun and someone that can really, really benefit. But listen, you never know what Vincent Kennedy McMahon is thinking, do you? You never know what that psychopath's thinking. So he could go any which direction. DJ Dillon said, my dream would probably be to meet you. It should be everyone's dream, DJ Dillon. I am amazing. And talk about wrestling and have a brew. DJ Dillon, shout out to you. Sounds fun. That's kind of what these are, really. I always think these are just like down the pub type conversations, or a beer, or a tea, or whatever. I kind of, do you know what I mean? We don't really, we just sit back, chat, and discuss stuff. And sometimes we start off talking about WrestleMania Backlash, and then we end up comparing Roman to Hulkamania. But it's just the way it goes. Do you know what I mean? Just go with the flow, don't we? Tharuka said, how about Austin Theory if WWE give him a push? Yeah? Yeah. I think Theory's got work to be done, but as you said, after a couple of years, Theory could get to a point where he can be challenging for the title. The bigger thing would be, can Theory get where you need him to get to in time for where the crowd haven't completely bailed on Roman? Because there will come a point where the crowd are bored of Roman, and you're seeing it now. I'm seeing it now. The chat when Roman first turned heel and started doing this were pretty united. This is amazing. There was obviously a few people that were like, nah, I don't like Roman. But as time has gone by, I think Roman has got, not stale, I think the creative has just got a bit repetitive. I suppose stale. I suppose he has got stale. I suppose, they did really well with the Usos, and, it was him and Jay, and now, oh my God, here's Jimmy. How does that change things? And then, the Usos, and then we had the Bloodline, and, there was stuff like that. And then, maybe Heyman. What's Heyman going to do? Brock Lesnar's back. Is Heyman going to go with Brock? And we had all of that. These kind of questions And these kind of conundrums and these little things just kept things fresh as we were going along. And different opponents for Roman as well. Like this year, we've been kind of scrambling around for opponents because, we've had to use Seth from Raw. And we thought we might get Shinsuke, but that hasn't happened. Now it looks like we're doing the Drew one. I think the story with Brock went on quite a while. I mean, Brock came back at SummerSlam, and that story went from SummerSlam all the way to WrestleMania. So it was a long story they told between Brock and Roman. It's a long, long story. So I just think people maybe got a bit tired of that feud because it was long. And I think people got a bit tired of the fact that there hasn't really been much that's changed. No one new has come in. No one's turned on anyone. There's not really any real problems or obstacles or there's not really been too much like that. I mean, Brock wins the Rumble. Brock won Elimination Chamber. They announced it was going to be Brock Roman for all the belts, biggest main event ever, and I just kind of think some people were on board with it. Some people maybe weren't feeling it, and I think what he needs now is he needs a good feud. Maybe Drew. I don't know how much excitement Drew brings. But he needs a good feud. There needs to be some twists, turns, surprises. We need to keep things fresh. So, yeah, I think it's going to be hard to keep everyone on board for a couple of years if Austin Theory was going to be the one that was going to eventually beat Roman. But saying that, it might not need 2 years. I mean, I kind of feel like someone like Bron Breakker, if he was to come up and just hit the ground running, I mean, look how fast they moved with him in NXT. So quick. So quick. He went from debuting to being champion in, I couldn't even tell you, 4 months, something like that. I mean, it didn't even feel like 6 months. It was quick. So you might be able to repeat that on the main roster, debut him, and just have him run through everyone and set his sights on Roman and just go after him quite quick. So, you could be Bron Breakker. You can tell Hollywood writers are gonna have talent as producers. If Roman turns face, it won't be as long as the first run, at least half of it, about 3 years. Edward said, Roman beats Cody, yes or no? It's hard, isn't it? It's hard because I can say, nah, Cody will win. Cody needs that title, so Cody will win. But does he need to win the first time of trying? He probably doesn't. Again, we're talking about obstacles being put in the way, and we're talking about, swerves and surprises. One of those could be that you do Roman Cody. Everyone thinks Cody wins, and then actually Roman wins. Cody's gutted that, he's come back to WWE to win the title, and he's failed. And then, he kind of has to try and find his way back to the belt. And then maybe he wins it the second time of trying rather than the first. So it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to say. It depends what story you want to tell. For me, I think Cody does get the belt eventually. Whether he gets it the first time of trying, I have no idea. The second time, the third time, whether he doesn't beat Roman, he has to beat the person that beat Roman, or do you know what I mean? But I do think definitely before Cody retires, he will have been WWE champion. I think we're all pretty much on the same page with that. Am I the only one that remembers the Cody storyline? What do you mean? Cody and Seth. Would you be up for Cody and Gunther versus Rock and Roman? Would I be up for Cody and Gunther versus Rock and Roman? No, because I think Roman's a heel, Rock's a face. I don't think it makes any sense to turn Rock heel. And Gunther's a heel and Cody's a face. Really what you would need is Roman and Gunther versus Rock and Cody. makes a little more sense because at least you've got the faces on one side and you've got the heels on the other. But I can't say that's a match that I'm desperate to see, to be honest. Single stars being put in like tag matches doesn't really do anything for me. It's kind of the same as when you have tag teams having solo matches. The FTR one was a bit different the other day because that was against each other. But you know, like when it's Humberto Carrillo taking on Dolph Ziggler, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Who cares? Because they're having a singles match, but they're both in a tag team. So why don't they just have a tag match? Why don't we just do Dirty Dogs against Los Lotharios? Why do we need Humberto versus Dolph? It's just killing time. That's all it's for. That's all it's for. Look at what they do with the women tag matches. So, you know, it's Sasha and Naomi. They went up against Rhea and Liv. They didn't just go up against them. No, we had to have Naomi versus Liv. Then we had to have Naomi versus Rhea. We had to have Sasha against Liv, Sasha against Rhea, and then we could have the match. And now we've got them doing the exact same thing with Natalya and Sonya. We've got to have Sasha versus Sonya. Then we're going to have Sasha versus Naomi. And then we're going to have Naomi against Shayna. And it's just all rubbish, isn't it? It's just rubbish. Just do Naomi and Sasha against Shayna and Natalya. Just do Dirty Dogs against Los Lotharios. I'm not a fan of having, you know, one half of a tag team competing in a singles match. And equally, I'm not really a fan of having single stars put in meaningless tag teams. I think for me, matches should matter. They should mean something. There should be a reason why I'm watching. Why am I watching this? What does this mean in the grand scheme of things? And that goddamn word, momentum. That goddamn word, when things don't mean anything, when the match doesn't matter at all, and it is literally to kill time, that's when they wheel out the word momentum. No, this match is really important because, of course, you know, Liv Morgan's going to need momentum. She's going to need momentum. She's going to need to go into that title match with some wins under her belt. So just think of the advantage she'll have if she already has a win over Sasha and she already has a win over Naomi. You know, it's going to be a big advantage for her. Shut up. Shut up. It's ridiculous. They don't do that in other sports, do they? Don't do that. You know, we didn't get Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano, but let's just not have the belts on the line. And then whoever wins will have great momentum for when we do have the belts on the line. Just waffle. It's just waffle. It's just waffle that's packaged up. It's waffle that's put in a package and then sold to you. There's like, you know, something that's meant to mean something when actually it just kills time. Did you get copyright strikes sorted from a few years ago? No. I've never had a copyright strike removed. If they remove themselves after 3 months, but if ever I've got a copyright strike, and I have had some in the past, they haven't had one for a long time, but they stick around for 3 months. So if ever I've done a video saying got a copyright strike, then they just resolve themselves. I've done the maths, and Roman can hold the championship till next year, and Savage and Mankind and Rock. I don't know what that means. Hang on. Have I just got mixed up between two messages? I think it's because this chat is so small. I've done the maths, and Roman can hold the championship till next year's WrestleMania. His title reign would be 944. That'd be all right. That would, because to me he could get through till about Money in the Bank, or SummerSlam. So he needs to get through to next year's WrestleMania at least. I think once he starts getting to 800 something, surely then people are going to be like, we should get to 1,000. It's not that far. Do you know what I mean? We're already at 6 something. We're at 6 something. So, you know, we're getting there. I feel like we've done the hard work. We're well past the halfway point now. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we was on, like, 300 days in and I was saying, let's get to 1,000, I could understand people going, how about we don't? But we're past 600 days. And we're past this year's WrestleMania as well, which I always feel is, like, one of the most likely places the title will change hands. So, we're past WrestleMania. We're past 600 odd days. I appreciate there's still a decent way to go, and I appreciate people are starting to get bored, but I don't think Drew's the one. I don't want Drew McCringe being the one to take that belt from Roman. So I think, let's focus on other things like Cody and Seth. It'll soon go by. Every day that goes by is another day that it's done. Do you know what I mean? So I keeping my fingers crossed. Hope we make it to 1,000. Cody wants to bring the Winged Eagle back. What are your thoughts? Yes, please. Yes, please. Dragon Den, yes, bring it back. I love that belt. It's the best belt they've ever had. I'm not a fan of the current designs. I think a belt should look detailed, prestigious. It should be something that when you hold it up, everyone goes, oh, man, yeah, that is well done. They hold this up now, and I'm like, why can I see more of the belt strap than, actual metal plating? Like, literally, the metal plating's, around the edge, and then we've got a W. And then the rest of it is just belt strap. Do you know what I mean? I don't really ever look at this belt and go, oh, that is nice. I wish I could be WWE champion one day. I never think that. But when I looked at the Winged Eagle, I was like, yeah, that. Even as a kid, I was like, oh, that is nice. That is really, really nice. I always, even when I was young, I just loved the look of that belt. And yeah, that of all the belts, that's the one that Cody wants to bring back. So I hope he does. I think it'd be a really cool move. I don't think Vince will let him, to be honest, for the reasons we've discussed, because they like to give sports teams replicas of the belt, and you don't even need to be a WWE fan to see the logo in the middle to know what that belt represents. So from a marketing and advertising point of view, the belt does a bit of work. You could put someone on stage, you could put that belt around their waist, and you could grab someone and say, who is that? And there is a chance that they would say, I think they've got something to do with WWE. I don't know who it is, but I think they've got something to do with WWE, because literally they are just wearing a giant WWE logo. It would be like pushing someone out there, giving them a belt that's got the McDonald's arch on it, right? And saying, who's that? And they'd go, well, I don't know who it is, but I think there's something to do with McDonald's. Yeah. So, you don't even need to say anything. It's like the WWE message is going out. If they have the Winged Eagle, that people would look at it and go, I don't know. Who's that? Who's that in that belt? I don't know. Because you would need to know you'd need to know wrestling to know what the Winged Eagle is. And if you don't know wrestling, then you ain't going to know Cody, are you? So if Cody's standing there with the Winged Eagle, there's a good chance no one will know who he is or who he represents. If he's standing there with the current belt, there's a good chance that people won't know who he is, but they might. I'm not going to say they will. It all depends if they've seen the WWE logo or not. I would imagine most have. There's a chance they'd go, I don't know who it is, but that is the WWE logo. Which is why they, I think, use that belt. So I can't see him winning that battle, to be honest. But I hope he fights a good fight. I'm in his corner, because I don't care about any of that stuff. Doesn't bother me, does it? I don't care if people recognise the belt or not. I just want to be happy. What about Cena, Rock versus Cena, Roman, and Seth? What about Cena and Rock versus Roman and Seth? Well, it'd be a big match. Be a big match. They did Cena and Rock against, I think it was Miz and R-Truth, that was Survivor Series, and I didn't understand it at the time. Did not understand it at the time. Didn't understand why we got that match. And I don't know if I would understand this one. I mean, maybe if it was going to be Cena versus Seth at WrestleMania and Rock versus Roman, you would do that match on a go-home or something. Or a couple of weeks out. Massive main event of Raw, Cena Rock against Roman Seth. Or maybe actually you wouldn't do it on Raw, you'd do it on the Saudi show just before or something. Or if there was a Fastlane, you would do it as the main event of that. I don't know. I'd need a story really for it. I'm just not a fan of single stars being put together. The positive with Roman and Seth, though, is that you could do a bit of a Shield reunion. They were obviously in the Shield. So, in a way, you could make that a bit Shield-esque, which would be fun. But, yeah, not a match I'd be crazy for, to be honest. Charlotte versus Roman. Right, we've got 9 minutes. 8 minutes. I said we'd stick around for an hour. We've been here for an hour and 50 minutes. We all know what I'm like. I said I'd do an hour. I've done an hour and 50 odd minutes. Not that I care. I enjoy spending time with you guys, but we do need to draw a line under this shenanigans. So, yeah, we'll do 8 more minutes, and then I'm going to run away. We could put those W's on the side of the Winged Eagle in the middle, said Zoom Station. James said, AEW was special. Cody leaves. It just looks like WWE versus AEW. WWE took over all the TV time. All hail Hogan, said DJ. Days, are you a Chelsea fan? No, I don't mind Chelsea, but I'm a Man United fan. Steve said, are you surprised Vince has stuck with the Gunther gimmick, saying the mat is sacred? Do you know, that's a good question, actually, because I am a bit surprised at that, because it's not... I mean, it doesn't really... I just don't get it. I love Gunther, but I've said before, like, he is saying, like, he's the ring general, and to him... the mat is sacred. Like, I really feel like that is a real positive babyface message. That's the kind of thing I'd expect Cesaro to say, like, don't come into this ring and disrespect wrestling. Like, if Gunther kind of feels like he's standing up for the prestige of wrestling, which is absolutely everything I love. I hate celebrity matches because I think we make celebrities look way too good. When we shouldn't, I think they should be, as I said, timekeepers, guest commentators, managers, valets, actually stepping into the ring to show what they can do after their 1 month of training. Jog on. Get lost. No. So, like, Gunther talking about how the mat is sacred, to me is just like one of the biggest babyface things you could say. I think it's a massive face thing. It's the kind of thing I would expect Cesaro to have said, that the mat is sacred and he's here to fight for the honor of wrestling. So, yeah, I do find it a bit weird that Gunther says that. But then add in the fact that this is a sports entertainment company more so than a pro wrestling company. And it is strange, isn't it? Because, again, the mat being sacred, how does that really fit into the modern WWE product? Don't get me wrong, there's good matches that WWE put out. One of my favourite matches is Cody and Seth of this year. I mean, I'm not belittling what WWE put out as a wrestling, match product when it's a pay-per-view or whatever. You don't tend to get loads of great stuff on Raw and Smackdown, but the pay-per-views, there's probably going to be a match, probably Cody Seth again, that will deliver at WrestleMania Backlash. But yeah, it probably is a bit strange that in WWE of all places, there is someone saying the mat is sacred, and then it's doubly strange that that person is a heel. So, there is a bit about it that's a bit weird. The past 2 Raws were better than the Raw after WrestleMania, in my opinion, says WWE Spiteful. Alex said, if AEW versus WWE happened, who would you support and who would be the 5 versus 5 teams? It depends on who would be on the teams, to be honest, because, if Danielson and, I don't know, who would be on that I'd be really interested in? I'm trying to think. I mean, it's a sad sign of the times that I don't have loads of wrestlers that I'm really passionate for. Like, I love Asuka. I love Gunther. I think Danielson might be the best in-ring wrestler, but him being in Blackpool Combat Club, I like Blackpool Combat Club. I think it's really cool. I like how he's trying to help Wheeler Yuta, but I do miss the solo matches from Danielson. I think when Danielson was facing Omega and facing Hangman, you know, there was a couple of bits in them matches, mainly when we went to commercial break, that I found annoying. Because in America, when you go to commercial break, we don't, if you're watching on Fight TV. And so you just kind of see them standing around, like, waiting to come back. And it just really takes you out the match, but it's by the by. But those matches were great. So the Blackpool Combat Club, I feel like we're shining a spotlight on Wheeler Yuta. Obviously, we get to see a bit of Moxley. Like, I really like them as a collective, but I do miss Danielson just being on his own. So I think, like, maybe if you had, like, Danielson, maybe if you had Darby Allin, maybe if you had... I like Sammy Guevara, but I don't want any Ty Conti anywhere near this match. So forget that. So I'll take Danielson, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, probably Omega. He's a massive star, isn't he? Take Omega. God, I have no idea. Wardlow's good. I'll have Wardlow. Omega, Wardlow, Danielson, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. That's Team AEW. I could get behind that team easily. I like that team. Team WWE would be... would it be just really weird to see Cody on Team WWE? I think I'd do it for the story. So, Cody, Roman, Brock... I want to say Owens and I want to say Seth. And I feel like that might be the team. Roman, Brock, Cody, Kevin Owens and Seth against Wardlow, Danielson, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin and Kenny Omega. That's my team. Those are my teams. Who would I root for? Do you know what? I wouldn't. I would just sit back and just... I think that would be such a festival of wrestling. Because that match, I know there's like no titles on the line or anything, but that is ultimate bragging rights, isn't it? This is WWE, AEW, whoever wins it gets to brag that they are the best. And I think that's like, that'd be really interesting to know which way it was going to go. And, you know, if it was booked as a 50-50 show, like, it's not WWE show, it's not an AEW show, it's a WWE AEW show. That way you wouldn't know how they were going to book it. It's a bit like the Forbidden Door, like, that's a show that's not booked by AEW, it's AEW and New Japan. I expect the cards to be 50-50. I reckon New Japan will win 50%. AEW will win 50%. But I don't know who wins the main event. And in that kind of an instance, I wouldn't know who would win that main event. So I personally would just sit back and just enjoy it because those people I've picked, I like them all. And as long as Ty Conti's not... If Ty Conti shows up, I'm Team WWE. I'll tell you now. But equally, if Brandy Rhodes shows up, I'm Team AEW. Right? I'm not messing around here. If Ty Conti and Brandy show up, I'm turning the show off. Right? That's exactly what I'm doing. So that's my answer. David Paul, shout out to you, said Sammy and Ty are the new AAA mixed tag team champions from last night's Triple Mania. I think that's the new Triple H show, isn't it? That stop motion guy, shout out to you, said, will you bring back the weirdest figure series? Or no? Important question, because I have been watching for years, says that stop motion guy. I will be trying to bring back some figure videos. I don't have any plans right now for the weirdest, but that's not to say that they won't return. I do want figure videos because... that is really how the channel started. That is the foundation of the channel. I've not forgotten that. And we went through the pandemic where the shops were closed. So figure videos, I could have ordered them online, but I've spoken before about how I don't like to do that because for me, I like to go to the shops and the joy of like doing the toy hunt and finding the figures. I had a little system. I would go to the shops, I would do a toy hunt, then the figures I bought, I would review them, and I would use them in videos. If I wasn't able to go to the toy hunt, then all the other stuff that followed didn't follow, basically. And then, like, obviously we had to go really into streams because everyone was stuck at home. Everyone's at home. So it's like, oh my God, like I'm stuck at home and everyone's stuck at home. So the channel sort of changed and became a lot more watch-along heavy. So I think, yeah, now I'm looking at it going, I need a better balance. I need to find a way of doing the watch-alongs because people enjoy them and I enjoy doing them. But I do need videos on the channel as well. So, yeah, there will be figure videos that come in. I think you'll see videos hit the channel in the summer. The reason why I say that is because I'm still doing the football stuff because of the football season. And that is kind of getting towards the end of the season. That finishes in the next few weeks. So once that's out the way, I'll have a lot more spare time. And once I've got that spare time, we can get going. So I am working on stuff kind of away from the streams. So there will be like figure videos that come back. You might have seen I did put up a toy hunt the other day. I did mention this. I tried to do a toy hunt. I went to the shop, and when I walked into the shop, all the staff were there, like all around the section. So I couldn't really film because like they were even filling up the wrestling section. So I would have been filming as they were like filling it up and all this. And I always like to try and get back to, because like you have to stand back to get the whole range in at Smith's, because Smith's range is incredible. And I couldn't, because there was boxes and there was people, and I was like, oh my God. You know when like you clearly it's like this is not happening. It was one of them. So I got about a minute's worth of footage, and then I gave up. And I was like, wow, I don't know what to do with this footage. I can't do a toy hunt. So I did it as a short, and I chucked it out as a short. So there is a little new footage short that went out onto the channel. So even when I try, it doesn't work for me. Even when I try, and I try to give my best. So I am, but I am trying. So yeah, weirdest figures. Not on the agenda, but I could see us getting back round to it. Because I did enjoy them. I did enjoy those, but I just think to be truthful, I just think we need to update all the figure videos. The amount of comments I get going, oh, this video is so old. We've had this, and this figure out since. Do you know what I mean? I might have done like the best Randy Orton figures, and people are like, where's the Ultimate Edition? It's like, well, the Ultimate Edition came out 2 weeks ago. This video's 3 years old. That's why. So I probably need to update a lot of things. Why is Brock advertised in the background? I think when they do the posters, they have very limited knowledge as to who's actually what the card is. I've said this before. I think when they do a poster, like SummerSlam, Brock's on the SummerSlam poster. Now, could they have gone to Vince and asked the question, the marketing department, will Brock be at SummerSlam? They could have done. And he might have said, yes, he will be. Or equally, it might just be a case that he's an active superstar. He's one of the biggest names they've got, so he looks great on a poster. And it's as simple as that. So I really, really, really cannot stress this enough. I would never read anything into the posters. I mean, the poster for, was it WrestleMania 22 was like, I think John Cena slamming Booker T. They didn't even have a match at WrestleMania 22. They didn't even have a match. Like, it's John Cena in a match with Booker T. You would think they were the main event. They didn't have a match. It's madness. There's loads of examples of that where, like, the poster just has nothing to do necessarily with the show. So, yeah, I wouldn't read into it. If you could pick one person who isn't in AEW or WWE to beat Roman, who do you think it should be? I respect the Man U support, as there's not many of us left. Not after this season. If I could pick one person not in AEW or WWE, who would I pick? I would pick... I've got one name that's coming to my head straight away, but I'm trying to think if there's anyone in New Japan that I would go with. I mean, Okada's, quite a nice name, but to be honest, I'm going to say Cara Noir. Cara Noir in Progress is someone that if you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a big fan of. Cara Noir is someone that's about 6 foot something. So height-wise, might just be a little smaller than Roman, but in decent shape, but very different to Roman. It's hard to explain. Used to be a ballet dancer, or is trained in ballet. And so when Cara Noir comes out, he comes out with his hands down like this, and he comes out with his head down. He's got his face painted all silver, and he comes out to that famous ballet music, the dun 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 dun. That music, that kind of ballet music, and he comes out. And it builds and it builds, and it's an amazing entrance. And when it kind of builds to this big crescendo, he throws his arms out, and it's like this massive cape, and he looks like a peacock really, because it's got all these colors and everything on. He throws his arms out like this, and he's just it's such an epic entrance, Cara Noir's entrance. It is so impressive. And then when he actually wrestles Cara Noir, he's very slick. He's got, as I said, he's got a nice size to him. He's got decent physique as well, dancers tend to. But he's not jacked like, the Warrior or anything. But I just think he is someone that I can definitely see WWE picking up. Very theatrical, very sports entertainment. Can see him being a really intriguing character in a world where there's not many characters now. Do you know what I mean? You've got a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns. There's not many characters. This is something so theatrical. I think it would work so well on the main roster. I would love, love, love to see Cara Noir have a WrestleMania entrance, just because I think it would be so interesting. So we spoke about Cara Noir before. I think still currently the Progress World Champion. And, the people that have come out of Progress are like Gunther. Gunther's come out of Progress. Tyler Bates come through Progress. So Progress is a bit of a feed-in ground, I think, into NXT UK. So I could definitely see Cara Noir going from Progress to NXT UK. Once he's in NXT UK, I can see him going from there to NXT to the main roster. So, yeah. I think he's been Progress Champion for a while now. But it's just hard to know if he fits the kind of thing that Vince is looking for. But he is very sports entertainment. And he can wrestle. He's got all that experience. So it's not like Haaland, who looks amazing, but then apparently, wrestling wasn't up to scratch. So CM Punk is the only one that would be box office hit with Vince's boy Roman at the stupendous farce that is WrestleMania. James said Volta against Cara Noir was freaking awesome. I've still not seen it, James. I've still not seen it. I need to watch it, and I will watch it. I will watch it tonight. How about that? Apparently on the network. Is it on the network? Volta faced Cara Noir, and James tells me it was amazing, and I absolutely believe him. So, Finderbin said, "Days, I got a Max Holloway figure yesterday. Very nice, very nice. I don't know what they're doing with those UFC figures anymore, because they did a first season. There was meant to be another season, but no idea. They've just gone quiet. No one's talking about them anymore. So I don't know what's happened with all of those. So yeah, I mean, it's good that you got that, because I don't think they're making any more. Right, here is the poll, and Drew and Arcade Bro 50%, Bloodline 49%, so that'll be 50.2, 50.3, 50.4. Bloodline would have been 49 point whatever, that's why it's not 50-50 exactly. So Drew and Arcade Bro just got the advantage in the end. So that's which way you think it's going. But that's amazing, isn't it? Look, 7-8-5. 7-8-5. And we've got that close, and it pretty much 50-50. Elliot said Cara Noir lost that Progress title to Jonathan Gresham. Did he? I didn't hear about that. It's interesting. I didn't know that Gresham was the current Progress champ. Good info, Elliot. Appreciate it. Right, we're done. Awesome. Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate the support. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your Sundays. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. We do have a football match tomorrow, actually. Man United against Brentford. It's Man United. So if you want to see me crying, you can join us for that on football days. If not, I will see you for Raw. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.